That would be a crazy thing for me to do. My
I
parents would
think you,
definitely call me. They'd be like, "Boy, what are you? We didn't raise you that way." But yeah, I know people do some interesting things.
I am joined on the Europe Drum Show official podcast by the legend that is Larnell Lewis.
Hey,
Yeah. How are
hey,
you?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for coming on the Europe Drum Show official podcast. It's amazing to have you here. I was wondering before we start if perhaps you and I could break the ice by playing a little game of this or that, where basically, Larnell, you just have to pick which two things you prefer, and you don't have to give an explanation as to why.
Okay, let's do it.
So the first question is, which Larnell has got the most iconic drum intro? Um, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin or Rosanna by Toto? Which to you has got the most iconic drum intro?
I mean, to me, I'll go for Rosanna.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get it. Okay. Which do you prefer, streaming or vinyl?
Prefer.
Yeah, which do you prefer? Which one do you prefer? Not
Ooh.
necessarily which one is easiest,
No, no. I mean, I'm
but
looking at my record player right now. You know what? Which one do I prefer? I'll just say vinyl.
Okay, okay, cool. Right, on your kit, if you were designing a kit from scratch, what would you go for? A bigger selection of toms or more cymbals? Which would you go for?
It depends on the gig, man. Ah,
Right.
okay. Um,
Do you want to be Terry Bozzio or not? Is basically what.
you said which would I prefer? A bigger
Which would you
selection of
prefer?
symbols?
Bigger selection of cymbals or a bigger selection of toms? I suppose with toms could come any sort of drum, from long bass drums to
Yeah,
octobands to, you know.
I'm gonna go with a bigger selection of toms.
Okay, that's interesting because I didn't think you'd say that. Okay, do you prefer, Lionel, to play an indoor venue or do you prefer to be part of a festival lineup?
Ooh. A festival's a vibe, man. It depends on
Yeah,
the festival, but the
that's
festival
true.
is a vibe.
Okay, yeah, that's very true. It's very true. Okay, so which, and this is the last one, the world before the internet or the world as it is today?
The world before the internet or the world as it
Hmm.
is today?
Yeah,
Oh, there's so many other pieces to that because I can't. I know the world before the internet for
yeah,
sure, but
me
I
too.
also, I'm gonna say the world after the internet.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Just for your streaming. No, I'm joking. Um, Marnell, you are going to be playing on Saturday, the 29th of March, on the main stage of the Europe Drum Show. This is a really big gig, and I'm so excited to see what you bring to the table. Before we dive into your career, what you've done, who you've played with, you've played all over the world with some huge names. I'd love to ask you, what has been in your career so far the biggest Spinal Tap moment?
Ooh.
Would you what has happened and you thought, yeah, this could probably be on the next Spinal Tap film? I mean, have you got lost backstage? Have you ever spontaneously combusted? These are the pressing issues.
Well, it's funny you asked that question because there was a venue somewhere in Europe, and clearly on the door backstage it says, "This is not Cleveland." So it just
That's so good.
so I'll say I can't remember where it was. I was on tour with Snarky, and it was last year, I believe. I saw that, and I have been with a band, um, just trying to find our way to stage and locked through doors, trying to call out. So yeah.
Okay, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Um, you're a three-time Grammy winner. That's that's huge. And even to get one Grammy is amazing. So I've got some questions surrounding that. Firstly, can I just borrow one just so I can look a bit better in life? Um,
Sure, let me just reach over here. Just look.
I'll just write my name on the front of it. Yeah, Ollie Winiberg, just for no reason at all. No, you're a three-time Grammy winner, and jokes aside, it's hugely deserved, Larnell. You're one of the best in the business. You've worked your absolute socks off to, to get where you are today. So it's hugely deserved. Um, how does that feel to be a three-time Grammy winner? That's huge, right?
It's massive. I mean, as a musician, you think about the accolades that you can gain in the industry as a child, and when you hear about the Grammys, when you see the Grammy Awards
Mhm.
on TV, at least for me growing up on TV, and you see, people talk about it, and then you realize, okay, I'm working my way towards this goal, and then you hit it, and then you hit it
Mhm.
again, and then you hit it again, so it's an incredible feeling to be recognized by your peers in the industry,
Yes.
especially because it really does show that what you're bringing, obviously you want to identify the value in what you bring and
Mhm.
not just leave it to others to tell you, but it does feel good
Yeah.
to have that validation and to be on that short list ultimately, per year. So
That's incredible. And is there a part of you that thinks I could get one more? That would be quite cool to get one more Grammy in the bag.
I mean, I will continually submit albums. And two, it's really interesting because while it's not the main goal,
No.
it does show you, if you're looking for some kind of a starting place
Yes.
to kind of get information on like mix sounds and general
Yeah.
drum sounds and
Yes.
what people are into, like it gives some kind of an indicator, like it is
Hmm.
it gives you a reading of some sort, so
Hmm.
I would love to win another Grammy. I had a couple friends that won some Grammys yesterday. Shout out to Corey Henry and of course
Wow.
Jameson Ross. Jameson Ross is the producer for Avery Sunshine, so that
Wow.
was incredible that they won that Grammy.
That's amazing. I mean, when you sort of have probably more than two, it probably gets to the point where you start using one as like a doorstop because they sort of you just don't care about them, and yeah, no, just put it by the door. That's fine.
That would be a crazy thing for me to do. My
I
parents would
think you.
definitely call me. They'd be like, "Boy, what are you? We didn't raise you that way." But yeah, I know people do some interesting things. We'll just leave it
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
that.
You don't want to get incriminated. Um, so Saturday, 29th of March, you're playing the main stage Europe Drum Show over in Germany. It's a huge event. It's the first Europe Drum Show. It's so exciting. I mean, you are sharing the stage with some massive names. You're going to be sharing that stage on that Saturday with Zach Grooves, Steve Smith, Mickey D, Christoph Schneider. There are legends on this stage, including yourself. What are you going to be bringing to the table that you might think might be different to what some of the other guys are going to be doing?
Mm.
What's going to make Larnell Lewis stand out?
Yeah, for me, it's about getting people to understand the small changes they can make in their drumming to level up. I
Mm.
often find that, you know, when I'm doing kind of lessons or I'm working with master classes,
Hmm.
you see little things like, dynamic contrast between the kit pieces. You see little things like just posture alone,
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is always foot control and like what I do on the kick drum in my drumming as well,
Hmm.
and my general sound and creativity. But in terms of what I am aiming to share and also kind of impart, into everybody is just to get them to understand that they can make these small changes and completely level up their drumming. So I would love when everyone leaves my master class on that day to sound like levels better and to believe that they can continue to grow and also to know and identify when they hear great drumming on an album or they see great drumming at a live venue and to just be able to pick the pieces out
Hmm.
simply by understanding these small items that we're going to talk about and adjust. So
That's so cool. And can I ask? I know this probably sounds silly. Did you ever look at these lineups? You see, you've got Mickey D on there, formerly of Motorhead, obviously now Scorpions. You've got Steve Smith, jazz fusion icon. Do you look at these names and think, oh, wow, I'm sharing the stage with some of these. Is there any kind of, do you get nervous, or do you just go, do you know what, I'm Larnell Lewis and I'm gonna absolutely just I'm gonna blow you guys away? How does it feel when you're looking at who you're sharing the lineup with for you?
I mean, to be able to see the names that I've seen forever in magazines and on like, Modern Drummer DVDs and,
Yes.
these people that have inspired me to actually be sharing the stage and for them to us to be in close quarters and talk, like that will never get old to me.
It's
That
cool.
will always be incredible that I can be that close to be able to connect, but also that I can honor their investment into the drum community and just say, hey, like I appreciate what you've done. Here's what I'm bringing to the table. So I'm also excited for what I'm bringing and my unique voice and my unique approach, and to be somebody who, considering that I've been given this platform to be able to push things forward in the way that those that inspired me did.
That's such a cool way of looking at that. I really like that. I definitely feel with you that there's a very positive energy, and already, I think I can already tell with you that you're like many drummers, a very natural sort of extrovert. You just want to have fun, you just want to enjoy yourself. I think there's a reason why drummers in general are the majority of them are kind of natural extroverts. Drummers are always considered to be the party of the band, right?
It depends. I mean, I'm probably the quietest guy.
Really?
Oh man.
I've read this
I
wrong.
I am probably the quietest person. Like for those that kind of know me personally,
Mhm.
like, in my house, they know that I love to have fun. And with three kids, it's dadutainment all day. So I definitely have that. I have that switch, but my natural default is to be very reflective, very introverted, very kind of like in my space and observing what's going on. But I do believe that there is something about the drums that can bring those things out of you,
Mhm.
And even if you might be introverted, you can lean into that, but still kind of wear this extroverted cape and kind of
Yes,
just like
yes.
just kind of make things happen because basically you understand how to serve the music. And I think either way, music gives you the opportunity to understand all of these different faces, so to speak, or all of these
Hmm.
different profiles, and you could utilize them either because you know one really well or because you want to discover another one.
And and what was it about the drums that just grabbed you by the heart? Do you have your first memory, your first sort of drumming memory? And if so, would you share that with us? Or can you remember the first time maybe you saw the drums on TV and you thought, "Oh my God, I want to do that." What was that pivotal moment for you that changed everything?
I mean, I grew up in a musical family, and so instruments were always around. I was always at rehearsals. I was sleeping in bass cases, and being the eldest of like three kids, I had a lot of those experiences because my parents just needed to bring me everywhere. And so I think, growing up in church, my dad was the musical director at the church, so I want to stay close to him, and I'm seeing him play piano or guitar, but I'm also seeing the drummer. And at church, everybody wants to be the drummer. Like you're
Hmm.
that person, they're hitting stuff,
Yeah.
they're like louder, they're just like doing their thing, and everyone else's their movements are, a little bit smaller, they're singing or whatever, but the drummer is just like going crazy, and that's what you
So,
want.
what is it with church drum? Every video I see, church drummers are just killing it. They're so good. What is it
Man,
about that environment, do you think, that just it seems to just level up players' ability? I don't know what it is.
it's interesting you say that. I mean, I know from my personal experience and the people I grew up around, you have every Sunday you're performing, right? Every Sunday you're
Hmm.
playing,
Hmm.
and you may not be the only, it's likely you're not the only drummer in the church. There's a good chance, right?
Okay.
So you get to see somebody play and see how everything is happening in real time from a young age. Then you get to
Yes.
play and understand how can affect the atmosphere as well at a young age. Then you start to understand when you become a little bit older, the purpose of the musical part of a surface. So now you are working towards something that's higher than yourself. So already to have that built-in
Mm.
concept into the environment of
Okay.
you see people do it, you get to do it, and everybody has a purpose that's like higher than themselves. It's not just meeting necessarily a quota, but you are trying to get to a place where you're reaching the highest level inspiration, expression, you know, and to a degree, really is the goal to be selfless in the way that you are approaching the music, so that people can be zoned in and receive what they need from the service. But then
Yes.
also you have concerts that are happening, sometimes weekly, sometimes seasonally. So you get to see, higher level artists playing and performing. And then, of course, you have artists that are coming in from different countries performing, so you get to see them as well. So I think there's a lot of hands-on experience. There's, weekly reinforcement.
Mhm.
There is a value system that's put in place that you can link to and identify and hear about that value system throughout the
Yes.
week or when you read the Bible. So I think there's a lot of ways that it happens, but I think repetition is key. I think that
Mhm.
not having sheet music in some cases really helps because you zone into what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and then because there's a lot of drummers, like my dad would tell me learn other instruments if you want to play. So then I picked up bass, I picked up keys,
Yep.
and then I would get to play in one instrument every Sunday, depending on what it was. So now you start to
Okay.
expand yourself, right? So I think that's, at least again from my perspective and the people in my circle, which there are a
Yes.
lot of incredible drummers like from my church circle growing up. Like
Yes.
I'll start with my brother, Ricky Lewis. I don't know if you know anything about him.
I know he's your brother.
Okay, he is the drummer for The Weeknd.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
now makes a lot of sense. Yes.
And shout outs to Adrian Bent. He plays for Drake. He plays for Daniel Caesar. He
Wow.
plays for, and I think possibly arranges, if I'm not mistaken, at least one of the arrangers for Victoria Monet. You have Otis Williams, who's incredible as
Yes.
well, right?
So
Jonathan Kerr.
so you and your brother obviously both very successful drummers. It's sort of Christmas time. I bet you guys are just doing paradiddles around the table, driving everyone else absolutely crazy, right?
You know what? It's true to that kind of introverted perspective, like on life that I have.
Yeah.
I wasn't a tapper.
Really?
I was not a tapper.
Wow. Okay. Are
Yeah,
you now? Are you a tapper now? Do you tap all the time?
I mean, if I do, it's because I'm sharing that with my kids, and that's the way that my dad shared it with me. So it
Yes.
was very much like when we're watching TV, tapping on the shoulders, tapping on the
Okay.
lap, rhythm, right? Just kind of getting that
Mhm.
physical impression so they can link into it and be all about it. And I mean, my son probably watches more of my videos than anybody ever
Oh,
will.
so
So
sweet.
he's in love with the drums and so yeah, I think that kind of, being at home with the kids, that definitely has made me more of a
Wow.
tapper, but you
Yeah.
won't always catch me like
Yeah.
that's not my thing.
No. You mentioned when you were talking about sort of the whole church scene, one of the things you said was that the advice that you had from your dad was to, look at playing another couple of instruments, to allow you to obviously join in more with what was happening within the church band, but also to expand yourself musically, right? What
Absolutely.
would what would your advice be to an aspiring drummer who looks up to you and like your son, watches your videos on YouTube all the time or would love to be able to play the main stage at the Europe Drum Show when they're older? What would your advice be?
Oof. I mean, I have stock things, but I'll first say that all of our journeys are different. So
Yes.
the biggest thing is to accept where you are and identify where you want to go, right? If you
Okay.
do want to be able to play at the Europe Drum Show, right? Or you want to do drum clinics, it's important that you understand what a person like that does, just
Hmm.
generally, right? Are they into education and expanding people's minds? Yes. Are they into expanding the known bank of knowledge of drumming and extended technique on the drums?
Hmm.
Highly likely, right? So then you want to get into and invest in those things, but you also want to watch how these people do what they do. So you want to go to some clinics,
Yes.
right? You want to
Yes.
maybe read some books that would be really helpful and understand material. Also knowing the history of
Hmm.
drum education and getting a sense of all those things. So I would really say the advice is whatever you do, just be well studied and really delve into it
Yes.
heavily because at the end of the day, there will be a point if you are consistent enough that you will be the um how can I put it? The advisor of said thing or the
Yes.
expert on said thing. And so while your mind and that neuroplasticity is happening the way it should at a young age,
Hmm.
just take in as much information as you can, execute as often as you can, because that's the real deal. And yeah, just be honest about where you are so you can make the changes necessary.
And do you think it's ever too late for somebody to pick up a pair of drumsticks, Larnell? In your experience, have you ever seen somebody maybe later on in life, really exceed at playing the drums when they didn't know that that was what they were put here to do?
I think it is there. It's always a great time to pick up the sticks. I
Mm.
think like if you want to do that, you should just do that because there's nothing in the world like passion and drive,
Hmm.
and if you have access to that, just live in it and you'll be surprised at what you're able to do and what you're able to build. So yeah, it's never too late to start. I think people being realistic about their goals is important
Yeah.
because, you know, if you're saying, all right, I just started drumming last week and I think I'm gonna audition for Primus. Like I don't know. I don't know how well that's gonna go for you, right? You might want to put up a video or two, but it may not be what you expect. So be being honest about where you are will help you get to where you want to go for sure.
Yes, yes. I feel like there's just so much positive energy coming from you. I don't know, you're just like one of those people that I feel like the world would just get on with if they, anybody from our planet was in a room with you, man. You seem so easygoing and all jokes aside, it is no wonder that you have succeeded in life in the way that you have. I know that you've got a massive YouTube following. I know that you obviously we've said about your Grammys. You've worked with Pat Metheny. I mean, that's crazy. That's a really big gig.
That
Um,
was incredible, yeah.
how you talk to me about this? How did that gig come about?
So there were a couple instances, and basically there was a show called Jazz Lives, and he basically was coming to town and said, "I want Larnell to play. Let's make it happen." I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
wow,
okay, cool. I'm down." And
wow,
it was great to play, like Bright Size Life and get through all those tunes, especially as a trio. It was Mike Downs, incredible bassist here in Toronto. Um, yeah, like to be able to do that and feel comfortable with a bass player that I know really well, and to be able to kind of swim through the music and just kind of get a
wow.
sense of how it is. And I mean, I Antonio Sanchez is one of my favorite drummers, and I could
Yes.
never play like him ever, but he inspires me. And to be able to, get through some of the material that he's played and to just have my chance to express in a particular way, knowing that Pat appreciates what I do and believes in what I do, like it was great, great opportunity.
Must have been considering your background and who you've worked with. That must have been pretty much dream scenario, right? Pat Metheny. That's
Oh yeah.
huge.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely. I mean, I feel like there are so many artists that I've had the chance to work with,
Mhm.
and it's not often that you get to connect with a hero or like perform with a hero at that level, someone that you've
Uh-huh.
been aware of from a long time ago. Because there's people we see who are incredible musicians now, or that are coming up now, or they've had their
Yes.
career, but it just also reminds me of the chance where I got a chance to sit in once with Marcus Miller, which again, that's
Wow.
also another highlight for me too. Um, we were at a festival, Starkey Puppy was at a festival in China, and Marcus was playing, and Louis Cato, who's now the musical director on the Stephen Colbert Show, he was playing drums. He's an incredible multi
Wow.
instrumentalist. And I have a story about Lewis as well. I'll give that to you in a second. That actually happened from that same festival, the Jay Z
Oh
festival.
wow.
Yeah, the
Okay.
letters J and the letter Z festival. I think that might have been 2014. But in short, again, to be able to play with a hero, because I play bass,
Uh,
and I have Marcus's Fender signature bass. My dad had a four-string version of the Fender signature bass, and so to grow up, you know, listening to Marcus, not even knowing that Marcus was on certain records, and then getting a
yes.
chance to like play with him and play this music was incredible. And the note, because it's a massive shout out to Louis Cato, and I've had a chance to tell him to his face, but he changed my sound without even
Wow.
trying. And what it was at the same festival, because I got to sit in with Marcus. Lewis has been playing with Snarky Puppy in and out for years, and
Yeah.
so he sat in on a tune. And as homework on the road, what I do is I film my performances. Right, some of it I'll share online, but mostly because I don't have spaces to practice or time to get out to places. I'm looking at how I'm affecting the music, and I'm just documenting what's happening. And so
Mhm.
I had the camera up. Lewis and I we switch, He gets on the kit and he's playing beautifully. And there's one moment where he just gets this clarity out of the drums and then continues on his phrasing. And it's all really clear, but this one moment stands out. And I get back on the drums and the drums sound completely different. And so I'm in my
Wow.
hotel room, just like rewinding this moment then, and then we're going back to when I play, going there, going back and watching the concert. And I'm saying, okay, the drums are the same. There were no adjustments. The camera's the same.
Mhm.
There are no adjustments. It's the person and it's the sticks. So did he change his, like, what kind of sticks did he have? I was like, I don't know. Can I follow? So I would watch this clip religiously and I would just sit at the drums at Humber College where I teach, and I would just, before my students come in, I'm just kind of slowly going through each kit piece,
Huh.
trying to like bring sound out of the drums. And this is also influenced by other mentors that I've had who have said things, but basically I had a visual representation of what they were talking
Wow.
about. Took it
Wow.
all, mashed it together, and that from 2014 to today has augmented my sound. Like it's
Wow.
the single most thing that I would attribute to the change in my sound over the years.
That's such an amazing story and so inspiring as well. The fact that I think a lot of musicians perhaps may record themselves playing, but if somebody did something a bit better, they might go, "Oh well, obviously they'd sort of sweep it under the carpet." And I suppose I'm specifically talking about guitarists here. No, I'm joking. You're not going to get a guitarist looking at somebody else's work in their hotel room. But jokes
There you
aside,
go.
it's what makes drummers special. And at the UK drum show, it's a huge auditorium full of drummers, and the one thing you notice, intertwining with your story, is people are making notes on their phone and they're talking to the person next to them they've never met. And hey, did you get that? What did you say? Oh yeah, I got that. It's all about sharing. Really is caring when it comes to drummers and that community. Which leads me on to, I suppose, my next question. Why do you think it's important that an aspiring drummer should come to the Europe Drum Show? What is it about the event that perhaps is making it special for you to be there? And what if you were to kind of, I suppose, sell yourself being there? Why is it important that maybe people should make that investment and join us for the weekend?
The gathering. The
Yes.
gathering. Drummers are known for this compared to a lot of other instruments, and we come together. We come together in part because some gigs we got to share drums. You might forget a foot pedal, you call a friend. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way that it's such a special instrument, not only from kind of what we deal with a modern day drum kit, but also historically
Mm,
what drums are about and the way that the drums are used to communicate and the way the drums bring people together. So, first and foremost, the gathering. If you are on the top of the mountain, come to this gathering and you will
hmm.
levitate through the clouds. If you
Love it.
are in the valley, come to the gathering and we
Hmm.
will get you on your way up the mountain. I think the biggest thing that I've learned from these kinds of events, and one thing I'm looking forward to because I've done the UK drum show, is to
Yes.
to just be in a space with people who play an instrument that I play and understand the challenges that I've experienced, and we
Hmm.
can just share and we can talk and we can relate and feel heard. So
Mm,
definitely the gathering is so important. And of course, you get to also see, not only inspiring performances from other musicians to be able to say, oh, I love that particular drummer or I like the way they play, but you can also see what is possible by watching these experts on stage do what they do and allow your imagination to run wild and think about what you could do to also level up what your heroes are doing.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Larnell, thank you so much for coming on the Europe Drum Show official podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been eye-opening. It's been fun. We know you've got 84 Grammys, so 85 maybe soon. But I really want to borrow one. It would do my street cred a lot of good.
I'll try and bring one with me.
I just want it in my in my jacket pocket, just here, just pretending I like. Oh yeah, just those, please. I'm in the shop. Just show it off a little bit.
I like
Um,
it.
If you don't do it, I definitely will. But Larnell Lewis, thank you so much. Saturday, the 29th of March, 2025, we are going to be in Friedrichshafen in Germany, and Larnell will be sharing the stage with some of the greatest in the business, and of course, including himself. And it is going to be jaw dropping for me. from a personal perspective, for me to just be at the side of the stage, bringing you on, is going to be jaw dropping. I can't wait to see you.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.